This is the brief on AI Decoded. Think of this weekly show as your very own universal translator, taking all that intimidating tech speak and turning it into practical, everyday language for folks without a technical background. First, we need to look at who this is actually for, because their core mission is to make artificial intelligence finally click for non-technical users. Since we aren't all programmers, the show acts as a strict filter for information, which really makes you wonder, if AI systems are so profoundly complex, how accessible can they genuinely be for an absolute beginner? Well, second, we see how the two hosts answer that by aggressively filtering the noise, separating what's actually useful.
Picture this. You have been grinding for 3, maybe 6 solid months on your professional online presence.
Right, just putting in all that sweat equity.
Exactly. You're posting consistently, the graphics look super clean, you are actually getting likes, comments, and pretty decent engagement metrics across the board.
Sounds great on paper.
It does. But then you look at your bank account or you check your calendar, and there are absolutely 0 new clients.
Yeah, nothing.
It is incredibly disorienting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you are putting in the activity, you're following all the prevailing advice out there, but the actual business results are just completely missing.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to solve this incredibly specific but universally frustrating problem.
It really is universal. Everyone goes through this.
Yeah. We are looking at a really dense stack of industry research today. This includes a comprehensive 50-page behavioral guide on social media effectiveness.
Which is fascinating, by the way.
Oh, totally. Plus, we have a recent statistical breakdown of sales touchpoints and a series of operational manuals designed specifically for independent professionals.
Basically, the actual blueprints.
Right. Because right now, your online presence might feel a lot like running a fantastic radio station.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Thanks, yeah. You're broadcasting great music, people are tuning in, and the ratings are super high.
Yeah.
But you don't actually have a phone line for callers to dial in and, buy the merchandise.
Right, you're just sort of broadcasting out into the void.
Exactly. Just into the void.
And that disconnection between the broadcast and the actual business, that is the classic trap of the modern professional. The most heartbreaking part is that when this happens, people usually blame their own content.
Oh, absolutely. They think they're doing something wrong creatively.
Exactly. They assume they aren't, witty enough, or their lighting in their videos is bad, or they just need higher production value.
Like they need a 4K camera or something to get clients.
Yeah, right. But the source material we are examining today, it diagnoses the problem from a completely different angle.
A structural angle.
Yes. The overarching theme across all these operational guides is the extreme danger of optimizing for visible metrics instead of actual business results.
I mean, that makes so much sense.
You are essentially pouring all your time and energy into building a beautiful, brightly lit storefront. But the front door is permanently locked and there is no cash register inside to actually, process a transaction.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that distinction between visible metrics and business results, that is the entire ball game here.
It really is the dividing line between a hobby and a business.
Yeah. We need to start by diagnosing what is actually happening when you look at your phone, see all this activity, and feel like you are succeeding, even though your business is fundamentally starving.
So the guide draws a really hard line between vanity metrics and signal metrics.
Right, vanity versus signal.
And the core issue is that our brains are naturally wired to reward vanity metrics.
Because of the dopamine hits.
Exactly, because they are public and they carry massive social weight. The most obvious one, of course, is your total follower count.
Oh, of course, the big number at the top of the profile.
We have basically been conditioned over the last decade to view a massive audience as the ultimate validator of professional worth.
If the number is big, you must be doing great.
Right. But let's look at the actual utility of that audience. Say you have an account with 50,000 followers.
Okay, 50,000 sounds good.
It sounds amazing. But if those followers were accumulated through a random viral moment, maybe a funny meme you posted, or some generalized hot take that got picked up by the algorithm, those 50,000 people are almost certainly completely unrelated to the core demographic you actually need to reach.
Because they just came for the joke.
Exactly. They are never going to buy your specialized consulting services or, say, your freelance architectural design.
Right, they just want more memes.
Yeah. So compare that to an account with just 5,000 followers. But those 5,000 are highly targeted, geographically relevant, and genuinely interested in your specific professional niche.
That's a totally different ecosystem.
Entirely different. That smaller account is a dramatically more powerful business tool. It represents an actual market, not just a random crowd.
Wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure, go for it.
Even if those viral followers are entirely outside my target demographic, doesn't having 50,000 followers give me like a massive halo effect of social proof?
I mean, yes, it does create a halo effect.
Right. Like, doesn't that make the right 5,000 people take me more seriously when they do eventually stumble onto my page?
Well, social proof is a real phenomenon, definitely. But the sources emphasize how dangerous it becomes when it masks the reality of your business health.
Ah, I see. It hides the rot.
Precisely. That halo effect creates an illusion of progress. You feel successful because the numbers are big, so you just keep doing exactly what you're doing.
You subconsciously chase more of those viral, broad appeal moments.
Exactly. You chase the applause instead of fixing the underlying mechanism that actually generates qualified leads.
Wow, yeah.
What's fascinating here is that the true metric of success isn't public applause, it's private conversation.
Private conversation. And if you're tracking direct messages, you are effectively tracking trust.
That is the perfect word for it. Trust.
Which moves us directly into what the material calls signal metrics. Anyone can tap a little heart icon while scrolling through their feed at a stoplight.
Right, it takes half a second.
It is a completely frictionless, totally passive action. But a direct message means someone has crossed a massive psychological threshold.
They really have. They've transitioned from a passive scroller to an active participant.
Yes, they trust you enough to initiate a one-on-one dialogue.
And that transition from passive to active, that is the only thing that actually pays the bills.
It's the only thing that matters.
The sources lay out a really clear hierarchy of value for these signal metrics. At the base level, you have your engagement rate.
Which is the ratio of meaningful interactions to your total reach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A healthy baseline in most professional niches is somewhere between 3 and 6%.
Okay, 3 to 6%. Good to know.
Yeah, that tells you the content isn't totally missing the mark. But as you move up the hierarchy, you start looking for much more deliberate actions.
Like what?
Profile visits are incredibly important. That is the digital double take.
Oh, I love that. The digital double take.
Right. They didn't just consume the post in their feed. They actively clicked your name to see what else you do.
And then link clicks sit right above that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because now they're actually leaving the comfort of the social media platform to visit your website or your booking page.
They're stepping onto your turf at that point.
So the real question becomes, once you know what to look for, those profile visits, link clicks, and direct messages, how do you actually use that data to change your behavior?
Right. What do you do with the numbers?
Exactly. How do we turn these raw numbers into a functional strategy?
You have to implement a structured optimization cycle.
Okay, structured optimization cycle. Walk me through that.
The operational manuals suggest a strict 4 to 6 week cycle. For a month, or maybe a month and a half, your only job is to publish consistently.
That's it. Just hit publish.
That's it. You do not panic. You do
Yeah.
not pivot your entire brand identity every 2 days just because a single post underperformed.
Which is what everyone does. They get panicked.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
But you have to establish a baseline first. Then, at the very end of that cycle, you sit down and look for patterns in the signal metrics.
Okay, what kind of patterns?
You're specifically assessing what the guide calls your educational trust offer mix.
Okay, let's actually walk through how someone measures that mix, because I think this is where a lot of professionals get super stuck.
Let's do it.
Say you post 20 times in a month. You might tag 15 of those posts as educational, right? Like how-to guides, industry insights, that kind of thing.
Sounds pretty standard.
And then you tag 4 as trust posts, personal stories, behind-the-scenes struggles maybe, and you tag just 1 as an offer, which is a direct link to book a consultation.
Okay, so 15-4-1 split.
Yeah. If you look at your month-end data and you see incredibly high saves on those educational posts, but absolutely 0 direct messages or link clicks, your mix is broken.
Completely broken.
You are over-indexing on teaching and drastically under-indexing on actually asking for the business.
Yeah.
The audience just views you as a free library.
A free library, not a vendor. That is the exact mechanism.
Yeah.
When you see that, you might realize you need to shift that 20-post ratio. Maybe you move to 10 educational, 5 trust, and 5 direct offers.
You let the data dictate the adjustment.
Exactly. The data dictates the adjustment. But to actually see those patterns, you have to establish a non-negotiable measuring habit.
Non-negotiable.
The source recommends dedicating just 15 to 30 minutes, either weekly or monthly, to just pull this basic performance data into whatever system you use.
You know, it reminds me of checking a compass on a long hike in the backcountry.
Oh, that's a great way to think about it.
When you stop to pull out the compass and, calculate your bearings, it can feel sort of counterproductive because you are losing your forward momentum.
Right. You're not moving.
You aren't walking.
Yeah.
You are just standing there looking at the little dial. But it is literally the only way to ensure you aren't confidently marching 10 miles in the exact wrong direction.
And professionals who establish that compass habit, they develop a profound intuition about their audience.
They don't have to guess anymore.
Exactly. They stop guessing what the market wants and they start knowing. And, if the data analysis side feels overwhelming, the guides highlight a highly practical way to leverage AI.
Oh, I love this part.
Specifically models like Claude for pattern recognition. You don't use Claude to pull the raw data because it can't log into your accounts, but you feed it the context for analysis.
So you can type out a prompt like, here are the topics, formats, and performance metrics for my last 30 posts.
Exactly. Give it the raw material.
My post categorized as educational carousels generated high saves but 0 profile visits, while my trust-building video stories generated lower overall reach but resulted in 5 direct messages.
That's a perfect setup.
Explain the psychological mechanisms driving this difference and suggest a revised content mix for next month that prioritizes generating more direct messages.
AI is exceptional at reasoning through those exact behavioral patterns.
It's so good at it.
It can synthesize the why behind the performance. It might point out that your educational carousels might just be too comprehensive.
Oh, look, you gave them too much.
Right, leaving the reader fully satisfied so they feel no need to reach out. While the videos, on the other hand, leave open loops that prompt natural questions.
It basically gives you an objective third-party analysis of your own creative output.
Exactly.
Okay, let's say the strategy is working perfectly. You've checked your compass, you've optimized your mix using Claude's insights, and the direct messages are just rolling in. People are actively asking about your rates and your availability.
The dream scenario.
Right. But your bank account is still empty.
Duh.
This is where the deep dive takes a pretty hard turn. We are shifting from marketing, which generates the interest, to sales, which actually captures it.
This is the crucial pivot.
Where are these highly qualified, genuinely interested leads going to die?
They die in the gap.
The gap.
This is a massive structural failure point in nearly every independent practice outlined in the research. Your front-end marketing engine is humming beautifully, but your back-end capture system simply cannot handle the load.
It just breaks down.
An inquiry comes into your direct messages, you reply with some pricing details, and then nothing happens.
I can tell you exactly what happens. We rely on our incredible, totally infallible human memory.
Which is a terrible idea.
A terrible idea? Or we experience that visceral, stomach-dropping guilt of moving our keyboard on a Friday afternoon and finding a Post-it note from like 6 months ago.
Oh, with a highly qualified lead's phone number just scribbled on it. I've been there.
We all have. We rely on scattered email threads, notes app scribbles, and this vague intention to follow up whenever we have a free second.
That vague intention is exactly where promising business relationships quietly suffocate.
Suffocate. Man, that's dark but true.
The industry statistics on follow-up behavior are genuinely jarring.
Oh.
Across virtually every professional service sector, the majority of independent operators give up after just 1 or 2 follow-up attempts.
1 or 2, that's it.
That's it. They reach out twice, they hear nothing back, and they immediately assume the prospect is just no longer interested.
But that's not true, is it?
No. The sales touchpoint data reveals that the vast majority of substantial engagements close after 5 or more deliberate touchpoints.
Okay, I have to challenge that data from a purely human
I
perspective.
know what you're going to say.
If I reach out to someone 3, 4, 5 times, and they haven't bought anything, or they haven't even replied to my last 2 emails, aren't I just being wildly annoying at that point?
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Am I not crossing the line from professional persistence into just outright harassment?
It absolutely feels that way to the person sending the messages. But the behavioral research requires you to really understand the psychology of the lost client.
Okay, put me in their shoes.
When a prospect doesn't reply to your email, It is exceptionally rare that they are annoyed or that they actively evaluated your proposal and chose a competitor.
So what are they doing?
In most cases, they are just busy. They are delayed.
Right. Life happens.
Exactly. They're waiting on some chaotic budget approval process. Their kid got sick. Their Tuesday went entirely off the rails.
So the prospect's mindset is fundamentally different from yours.
Completely. You are staring at your inbox, hyper-focused on this potential sale. They are just trying to survive their own operational bottlenecks.
So abandonment isn't rejection. Silence is just a symptom of them being overwhelmed.
Precisely. And when they finally clear their desk and they're actually ready to make a purchasing decision, they're not going to spend an hour digging through 3 months of buried emails to find the freelancer they talked to once.
Who do they choose?
They choose the professional who showed up thoughtfully at the exact right moment when they were finally ready to sign a contract.
Wow.
Failing to realize this creates what the operational manuals call the invisible problem.
The invisible problem.
You never see the cumulative business you lose over the years. You don't get a notification for the warm relationships that slowly drifted into the cold or the referrals that were ignored because you just slipped their mind.
It is a silent, ongoing leak in the hull of your business.
It's the most expensive mistake you can make.
Which brings us to the ultimate structural solution. To bridge this follow-up gap, to consistently hit those 5+ touch points without relying on Post-it notes and our deeply flawed memories. We need a system.
Yes.
We need a CRM.
Customer Relationship Management. Now, the acronym carries a lot of baggage.
It really does. It sounds so corporate.
It sounds like bloated, incredibly expensive enterprise software that requires an entire IT department to configure.
Right, like Salesforce or something.
Exactly. But for an independent professional, a CRM is simply an organized, centralized record. It tracks the people in your professional orbit, the current context of your relationship with them, and the specific commitments you have made to them.
Let's break down the exact mechanics of setting this up, because the required data points are actually surprisingly minimal.
Very minimal.
You obviously need their contact info, you need the interaction history. Like, what specific challenges did you discuss on the last call so you aren't starting cold next time?
Right, basic context.
Then you need their current stage. Are they a brand new lead, an active prospect you're currently negotiating with, or a past client who might need a retainer?
Yeah.
And then you need the absolute engine of the entire system.
The next action with a specific date attached to it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you just have a beautifully color-coded list of names and background notes, you do not have a strategy.
No, you just have a very pretty address book.
Exactly. A CRM without a committed next action and a calendar date is basically just a digital graveyard for business cards.
A digital graveyard.
It is a place where contacts go to sit completely dormant.
The distinction between a note and a mechanism is everything here.
Tell me more about that.
Writing down, I need to check in with David about the Q3 design project, is merely a passing thought.
It's vague.
Writing down, draft specific proposal outline for David's Q3 project and email it on Thursday the 14th. That is a committed next action.
It's actionable.
That single shift in formatting is what transforms a static contact list into a dynamic follow-up machine. When you open your system on Thursday the 14th, the system tells you exactly what to execute.
And you absolutely do not need a massive software budget to facilitate this. The guys are extremely pragmatic about tool selection here.
Very pragmatic.
If you are managing a few dozen active relationships, a simple Google Sheet with columns for name, context, stage, next action, and next action date is entirely sufficient.
That's all it takes to start.
Or, if you are a visual thinker, setting up a Kanban board in Notion is incredible. You literally drag a client's card across the screen from a column labeled initial DM to follow-up one to proposal sent.
Super satisfying to drag those cards.
Oh, so satisfying. And if you are scaling to the point where you need automated reminders and email open tracking, platforms like HubSpot offer free tiers that handle all of that infrastructure.
The golden rule of CRMs, heavily emphasized across all the operational literature we're looking at, is that the best tool is the one you will actually use.
Say that again for the people in the back.
The best tool is the one you actually use. A complex, perfectly optimized system featuring 20 custom tags that you actively avoid opening because it feels like a chore. It provides zero value.
Zero.
The simplest, most basic spreadsheet that you actually check every single morning with your coffee is infinitely more powerful.
We can bring Claude back into the mix here too, to solve one of the biggest bottlenecks of CRM maintenance: the blank page problem.
Oh, the dread of the blank page.
Right, because the reality is writer's block on follow-up emails is a massive reason people abandon their CRM.
Definitely.
You see the reminder to email a prospect, but you don't know how to word it without sounding desperate or pushy, so you just skip it.
You put it off until tomorrow.
And tomorrow never comes. Instead, you can feed the context to Claude. I had a great discovery call with a prospect 3 weeks ago. They loved the pitch, but said they were waiting for the new fiscal quarter to unlock the budget.
Perfect context.
It is now the new quarter. Draft a 3-paragraph follow-up email that is warm, references our previous chat about their specific workflow bottlenecks, and is highly specific without being presumptuous.
It completely removes the friction of execution.
It really does.
You go from staring at a blinking cursor for 20 minutes trying to sound natural to lightly editing a highly competent draft in 2 minutes.
If we zoom out and look at the entire architecture we've built today, we are really talking about connecting 2 historically disjointed halves of an independent business into a single, continuous engine.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's what the source material refers to as the loop.
The loop.
You use your signal metrics to create a targeted social media strategy that consistently builds an engaged audience.
Step 1.
That audience generates direct messages and inquiries.
Step 2.
Those inquiries are fed immediately into your CRM. The CRM ensures you follow up 5, 6, or 7 times, methodically developing those inquiries into paying clients.
The machine does the work.
Exactly. And finally, those deeply satisfied clients generate referrals, which seamlessly re-enter the front end of the loop.
It's a completely self-sustaining ecosystem. The ultimate benefit of building this loop isn't just an increase in revenue, though.
No, it changes everything.
It fundamentally transforms how you experience your daily professional life. It moves you away from hustle-dependent income, where you are constantly sweating, perpetually chasing the next gig, and relying on viral luck.
Which is exhausting.
So exhausting. And it moves you to pipeline-dependent income. The next relationship is always already being nurtured. You are never starting from scratch at the beginning of the month.
The most critical takeaway regarding implementation is timing, though.
Okay, when should they do this?
A lot of independent professionals assume they need to wait until they are completely overwhelmed with clients to justify building a CRM.
They think it's for later.
Right. But a CRM is fundamentally designed for the moment before scale. The exact time to build this simple system is the very second you feel a lead starting to slip through the cracks.
Not if you've lost 10 of them.
Exactly. The moment you realize you forgot to reply to someone last week is the indicator that your mental hard drive is full and you need an external system.
So what does this all mean for you? You're listening to this, and maybe you're realizing your online presence has been broadcasting into the void, or your follow-up game has been relying entirely on hope and a scattered inbox.
Let me leave you with this highly specific thought to mull over. We discussed the behavioral research showing it takes 5 or more touch points to close a meaningful engagement, and that silence usually just means the prospect is busy.
Right.
Think back over the last 12 to 18 months. Think about the people you had a genuinely good initial conversation with just once or twice, and then things got busy and it quietly fizzled out.
We all have a few of those.
If you were to open up a simple spreadsheet right now and implement this CRM structure today, who is the very first person you would reach back out to?
Ooh.
What lucrative opportunities are currently sitting completely dormant in your email history, just waiting to be reawakened by one thoughtful, well-timed follow-up?
That is the perfect question to ask yourself as you close out your day. The feeling of disorientation, of working so hard on your visible metrics and getting nowhere in your business, it does not have to be a permanent state. You should need to stop tracking the vanity metrics, pull out your compass to check your content mix, and build the simple machine that captures the immense value you are already creating. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Get out there, pull up that email history, and go make that next touch point. We will catch you next time.
This is The Brief on the AI Decoded podcast. AI Decoded is a weekly show that provides actionable tech advice, and today we are looking at their broadcasting footprint and upcoming programming. You know, keeping up with AI tools feels kind of like navigating this dense, totally unpredictable jungle, which is exactly why finding a reliable guide is absolutely crucial. First, where do you find that guide? Well, listeners can expect a new episode every single week, accessible across all major platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.